going on, guys? We're bring a review this time the Marvel Legends HasLab Sentinel. This is probably my most anticipated figure of the year. The box is huge, and that's expected because the figure is massive. So I can't wait to open this up, and I'm going to show off the box art. Here's a look at the box. You can see the Sentinel there, Jean Grey Cyclops. This is kind of inspired by the House of X storyline, so that's why they're in this design. And then on the side, you can see the Omega Sentinel, you can see Magneto, see Professor X and Mortimer Taggart. On the back, you can see Wolverine and Bastion, and more Sentinels in the back. Mind you, I only have one. I couldn't really afford to get like 3 or 2 like some others. There's a female human Sentinel, and Sentinel down there, Sentinel here. So I'm not throwing this box away at all. Probably gonna keep it forever. But we're gonna go ahead and open this up, and we're gonna take a real close look at the Sentinel. Alright, just a heads up, this is going to be a long review. Speaking of heads, let's talk about the heads and accessories that this figure comes with. First, starting off with the standard head that he comes with, the regular classic Sentinel head. Not really classic, but more modernized, but I love how it looks regardless. You can see the wiring in there. Looks really, really cool. And I'm going to talk about the eyes in a second, because you obviously, you can't really see them, but they're there, but we'll talk about that later. I love the magenta metallic color that they got going on. I don't know what happened here, but it looks like some kind of glue or whatever got on this head, and it's not the end of the world, to be honest with you. Then I'm gonna get a battle damaged version of that head. So it looks like he got shot a couple times, looks like something was thrown at him. He's got a few dents there. No Wolverine scratches, which is interesting. Actually, not really a Wolverine scratch, but you can see there's some scratches there. Looks like he got shot in the eye. He's missing part of his jaw. Someone tried to rip off parts of his head. And you can see all the wiring in there. Some more dents in the back, a big old dent up there. So this one is really cool. And then you get the Tri-Sentinel head, which I believe is from House of X. I still haven't read the last 2 issues of that story, so I need to get on that. But here's a look at this front head. That looks really cool. And then here's a look at this head, which looks like the classic Sentinel. So that's cool. Then here's a look at this head, which is just silver. So that's cool. So if you want to get a cool effect of it turning at the same time, you can do that. And probably, arguably, my favorite head out of all of them, surprisingly, is this Master Mold head. Now, Master Mold is usually yellow with the Sentinel, you know, head thing, but he usually has a yellow face and like yellow on him. I believe that this is a more modern look for him, so I don't really mind it that much. I would have preferred a classic one, but it's not really a Master Mold figure. It's more of a Sentinel. So I don't know, maybe they'll make a Master Mold HasLab exclusive. I highly doubt that anytime soon, but here's a look at this. This is really, really cool. I love how this looks. And all these heads are pretty heavy, by the way. So yeah, that looks really, really nice. And I'll talk about the eyes in a second, but let's look at the rest of the accessories. Looking at the hands, we got a left and a right one. So here's a look at this one. You can see the beam for his hand there. And I like how, obviously, these fingers are articulated, but with the joints, it makes it look like, you know, robotic, like joints and whatnot, so that's pretty cool. Here's a look at the top of the hand. And the other one's the same, nothing different about this one. But then you get a 1 battle damaged version of that hand over there, which is really cool. You can see that this is cracked now. You can see a little bit of red in there. These kind of move, but they don't really move. It's not really articulated. I don't know what's going on here. This thumb kind of moves. I'm scared to move it because I feel like it's going to snap. And this figure costs me like $320. I don't want to break any parts of it at all. But the only part that's really articulated is this hinge here. And, you know, this is really cool. It's a nice effect. You get 2 very long tentacles, and they both bend. They are really nice. This is, you know, Toy Biz did this as well, but I always felt very worried about posing theirs around, and actually a couple of mine broke. But this is probably the best version of this that I've seen of the Sentinel tentacle. So this is really cool, and it plugs into the hand. Here's the tentacle attached to the hand. Looks pretty cool. And you get this instruction manual about how to operate the light. We'll talk about this more when I talk about the actual figure, but this is pretty cool. Another accessory that the Sentinel comes with is Bastion. This is a classic X-Men villain, character that I've been wanting for a very long time. If you don't know who Bastion is, he's a humanoid Sentinel, or hybrid Sentinel, and this is really cool. It's going to turn into a mini review here of him, but you can see the head sculpt. It looks awesome. You can see the implants in his face, the beard, all that looks really cool. He looks awesome. His skin is actually kind of white. It's a very palish white, so that's really cool. See the Sentinel beam in there. Same metallic paint that we have for the actual Sentinel on his chest here. See these gold lines. And the rest of it is just the Black Panther body mold. And speaking of which, just look at the articulation real quick. Standard Black Panther body mold. Arm moves back and forth, up and down, so the bicep. Double joint at the elbow, wrist moves side to side, hand moves up and down. Ab crunch. Waist swivel, leg moves forward, back, and out. So with the thigh, double joint at the knee. Calf swivel, foot moves up, down, and ankle pivot. And if you don't want it to be Bastion, you can have this humanoid Sentinel, just a regular standard humanoid Sentinel, and that is really cool. So for me, this takes me back to my childhood. I grew up on a game called X-Men Legends. I mostly played X-Men Legends 2, but X-Men Legends 1 was something I got into much later on in life. And in that game, you know, the X-Men go into this lab, and it's a Sentinel lab. And in there, you see these people that are on these lab tables, and their guts are being ripped out of them, their bones are being ripped out, and they're being turned into Sentinels. There's blood all over the floor. So when I was a kid, I always found that really fascinating, and the fact that I finally have it in figure form is really cool. So this guy was pretty much like torn to pieces and turned into a Sentinel. So that's pretty much what it is. See the head sculpt there? It looks pretty cool. I kind of do want to get more of these. I do want to get more Sentinels, but that's probably not going to happen. But it'll be cool, like through Azure Pros or whatever, if we get more of these. And, you know, if people can get a Bastion, because I don't really see this being in public anytime soon. But this is a really cool head sculpt. So both of them are really cool, Bastion and this one. Not only do you get a male Sentinel, you also get a female Sentinel. Now, excuse me, they're actually called Sentinel Primes. So this is a Sentinel Prime, and then this is a female Sentinel Prime. So same story, ripped apart, turned into a Sentinel, human turned into a Sentinel. She looks really cool. I'm not gonna lie, man, this is actually a really nice female Marvel Legend. These actually don't feel like standard Marvel Legends. I don't know if it was because you know, us collectors funded this with our own money versus like going into a store and buying it, but the quality in them is really nice. They don't feel like they're going to break apart, especially with him. The plastic feels really nice, but specifically with her, I really do like this head sculpt. Looks really cool. I like the eyes, same magenta, silver, I mean metallic magenta. That looks really cool. The hair doesn't get in the way. A little bit of dry brushing in there. It's kind of hard to make out on camera, and this is pretty much straight from the comics. So I really like how this looks. And it's not really a black, it's more like a, well, matted black. But the articulation, it's not really the female body mold that they've been using recently that I can't stand. It's a little better. The head looks up this much, moves down, side to side, so there's a hinge, tilts, arm moves back and forth, up and down, swivels at the arm. He has a single joint at the elbow, but I love how much it comes in. Wrist hinge. Diaphragm joint, not that great, but it's better than what we've been getting on most female Marvel Legends. The leg moves up and down, moves to the side, swivels the thigh, double joint at the knee. The foot moves up, down, and an ankle pivot. So here is a look at the Sentinel. A year's worth of weight, and I would say it's well worth it. This is easily my favorite figure of the year. If you guys checked out my review of the Mafex Mandalorian, that was originally my most anticipated figure of the year, but it was slightly disappointing, and I kind of forgot about the Sentinel, but getting it in hand, it's something else, man. I definitely recommend that. If you can, try and backtrack and get one. I know people are going to scalp it or raffle it off at ridiculous prices, but if you can, definitely get this figure. but this is a dope figure. So most of this is going to be handheld. I apologize ahead of time, but I just want to get you guys great details and a great look at this figure. So looking at the head sculpt, you can see the head, all the wires there. Then you can see the chest. We'll talk about that in a second. All the detail in there. So dope. There's a look at the hand again. We already took a look at that. You can see more wiring there. See the chest. All that looks really cool. The wiring is just so nice, man. There's not a lot of paint detail, like scuff marks or anything like that, but the paint that they chose was great. I love all the wiring there. You see like this mesh there. Look at the legs, man. This is so nice. The boots, well, not boots, the feet. So clean. Alright, now let's take a look at the back of the figure. Taking a look at the back of the figure. See all the wiring in the neck. The jet boosters back there. I think those are jet boosters at least. The bolts, all the detail, man. More of that mesh there. Look at the side. Oh, that's really cool. More wiring. I love how the wiring goes into the leg. That looks awesome. If you didn't know this was a toy, you would think this was a real robot. I mean, it's so dope, man. Great sculpt, great work from HasLab, man. Really proud of them. Here's the bottom of the foot. All this looks really cool. That yellow right there so they can fly. It looks awesome. All this detail is amazing. Now, one more thing before I get into size comparison, the light and the articulation is at first I saw a lot of people were having a lot of issues with the looseness of the knees. So getting them to stand up and then having them not fall over was an issue for a lot of collectors. But Robo from the Foosh, which I love his work, definitely check him out. So I don't want to take credit for this, but he came up with this idea. If you pop this little bolt out, it's not really a bolt, it's a piece of plastic. There is a screw in there. Just take a screwdriver, tighten it up, and it should tighten it up all the way. It's still a little loose for me. I did it as best as I could, but it's still a little loose down here, which kind of sucks. And at first I was gonna have this guy on the top of my Detolf on my Sentinel, my X-Men collection, but I don't know about that, man. He's a really tall figure, he's heavy, and you know, the looseness in the knee, it's still kind of loose. I'm worried that he's gonna fall over, get someone hurt, get me hurt, or break something, so I don't want any of that. So I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna put this figure, but if you guys are having the issue with the knee, just tighten it up and do the best that you can with this figure. Now, something really cool about this figure is it lights up, which is where I'm sure a lot of the money went to. So the instructions don't really explain this too well, but the colors change and there's not really an off switch. It turns off on its own, and I didn't realize that until messing around with this figure like 3 or 4 times. So here's a look at that. Bright, nice white. You can see there. Now it's changing to yellow. So that's cool. And then if you want to change it again, here's a look at that. Now it's changing to green. And then if you want to change it again, hit it again, it'll change to red. So that's cool. And it turns off on its own. Takes a second, but it will. So that's pretty cool. It takes 2 AAA batteries, so it doesn't come with it. So you have to get it on your own, which kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. So that's pretty cool. And I believe it does have one more effect. If you hold it, it flashes. So that's cool, man. That's really cool. And then, so this is another effect too. The lights up there turn off, but the lights here stay on. So I turn my lights off. That's how it looks in the dark. Sorry, my camera's going in and out of focus, but it looks really cool. Super bright too. So something really cool that HasLab did is each head has a different light up feature. What I mean by that is how I was talking about earlier. This eye is shot out. This one is still here. So what you can do is just power on the chest, and you can see that this eye is open, but this eye isn't. So that's really cool. The Tri-Sentinel is a little different. The light up feature is only in the front, so it doesn't light up all 3 heads at one time, which is what I thought originally. But what you can do is power it on. You can see it there. You can see it here. And you can see it here. So it's not at the same time, but it's still really cool. So for me, this is gonna suck because I'm gonna have to stand during most of this, and it's probably gonna hurt me a little bit. But let's talk about the articulation. So the head moves up and down, not too much, moves side to side. His neck moves too, so that's pretty cool. His arm moves back and forward and out. Now these shoulder pads don't really move. There's a bicep swivel, a double joint at the elbow that works very well. There's a swivel at the wrist, and all these fingers are individually articulated, which is awesome. This piece right here moves up and down as well. As far as the torso, it moves forward a little bit and moves side to side. You could probably do a 360 if you really wanted to. And he has an ab crunch, which is awesome. I think it's down at the moment. So that's how that works. And here's the back of the figure. You probably move him back. You move him back pretty far actually. As far as the legs, they move forward, back, and out. One thing I will mention is that he splits very easily. So if you have him really high up, he's probably gonna split and fall over and hit something. So besides the splits and the loose kneecaps, those are the only 2 major quality control issues that I have with this figure. Besides that, it's pretty much perfect. He has a thigh swivel, double joint at the knee. As far as the feet, so this piece moves up and down. His foot moves side to side. He has an ankle pivot, and it hinges back and forward. So despite being so heavy and big, this figure has a ton of articulation, and it works. So Hasbro did a great job in that department. So here it is next to the Marvel Legends Toy Biz Sentinel and the Marvel Universe Sentinel, and you can see how massive this figure is compared to these two, which are actually pretty tall build-a figures. We don't really get tall build-a figures like this from Hasbro anymore. Specifically, I'm referring to the Marvel Universe one. So we don't really get stuff like this. So something like this was crazy. And then getting this is awesome too. Back in the day when we had, you know, larger Toy Biz Marvel Legends. But neither of these guys even compared to this guy. This is insane. Quick side note, if you guys didn't know, the Marvel Universe Sentinel also lights up, but it also talks too. So I'm kind of showing my age a little bit, but here it is next to the X-Men Classic Sentinel. As a kid, I loved this toy. And it's somewhat similar to this as far as in color, as far as it being super purple compared to the other ones that I showed. But none of those compared to how this one looks. So here we have 3 different X-Men from 3 different toy lines: Marvel Legends, Mafex, and Revoltech. So, you know, it pretty much works with any of them because he towers over all of them. And for my fellow Mafex collectors, you know that Mafex has given us a huge line of X-Men figures. So we got Psylocke, we got Cyclops already. Technically Deadpool is an X-Men character. We got the AOA Magneto. We got, I think I said Psylocke already, Gambit, Jean Grey coming out. So we have a ton of variety with this figure, and I'm looking forward to completing that Mafex team of X-Men as well as Marvel Legends. So that's my review. Yo, this figure gets out of 10 out of 10, no question about it. Definitely my favorite figure of the year. Arguably my favorite figure in my collection at the moment. It's just such a dope figure. The fact that you get all these heads, a great figure, the light up features, and then you get the 2 Prime Sentinels, plus all the accessories that you get. It was well worth the money. I had a lot of people tell me, oh, it wasn't worth it, you know. But me being an X-Men fan, me being a Sentinel fan, Sentinels are one of my favorite. They're not really villains, but threats in Marvel. I had to have this in my collection. Unfortunately, I missed out on Galactus. I love Galactus too, but I like Sentinels more. So, you know, I'm sure that there's going to be more HasLab projects. I know a lot of people want to see Fing Fang Foom, Giant Man. So
maybe they can give us a big Apocalypse. I don't know. There's a lot that they can do. So we funded Sentinel, we funded Galactus. I know a lot of people funded the Razor Crest from Mandalorian. So I believe that this line has a very, very strong stand when it comes into the collecting community. So if you can, get it. Don't pay any ridiculous scalper prices like $600. Don't enter any stupid raffles, you know. Just be careful, you know. Just, I don't know. If you're a huge fan of X-Men, definitely get it. If you're a fan of Sentinel, get it. So I definitely recommend that you guys pick it up. And yeah, alright guys, thank you all for watching, and catch you later. Peace.